Hey guys, Chris from Amazeen Outdoors here. Today I'm going to show you how I whiten a deer skull after the boiling process. Follow along with me and hopefully this will help you out in the future. Alright guys, so step one, this is after pulling the deer head out of the boiling pot. I'm going to run it under some hot water here, and I'm going to take this wire brush and clean it up just a little bit more and go from there. I am trying to salvage this velvet here. Alright guys, so here's some of the tools you're going to need. A little bit of cling wrap, pretty standard. Small paintbrush. I use a little Tupperware bin to mix up the peroxide. This is a basic white, powder whitener. And then your 40 volume peroxide. I actually got this from the Sally's Salon here in Monroe where I live. Relatively cheap, easy to pick up. So that's what we're going to get started with. Alright, so I'm going to start by just laying out some of this saran wrap. I always put a little piece here off to the side so I can put my Tupperware on so I can mix that up so it doesn't make a big mess all over the table. And then I'm going to put out 3 longer strips, and that's to put the deer head on. And again, that's so I don't make a big mess on the table. I'm also going to use this saran wrap to wrap up the deer skull, and it can whiten overnight. Okay, so for the mixture, I'm going to take some of the powder. I actually have 2 deer skulls to clean up, so I'm going to use 3 scoops. This is pretty fine powder. It's almost like cornstarch. And then I'm going to add some 40 volume. And you really just want to add just enough to make a paste out of it. You don't want it too liquidy. So we're just gonna mix this up. I like to go nice and easy at first because the powder, it will spill everywhere if you don't. And if you gotta add more of the 40 volume in there, that's fine, you can do that. Looks like I'm gonna need to. Kind of chunky in there yet, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Keep on stirring. There's a pretty rough smell to this, so you may want to wear a mask. That's up to you. There's about the texture you want it to be. Kind of looks like cake frosting. So what I like to do next, before I apply the whitener on there, is I like to run the skull under the hot water for a couple of minutes. And that's really just to kind of get that skull warmed up and open those pores up on the bone. So that way it accepts the whitener a little bit more. We call that sweating the skull. Sometimes if you're ready to go, you can pull this right out of the boil pot and then go ahead and whiten it. And it'll be really hot that way too, obviously. Just gonna shake off the excess water. Let it drip out a little bit so it's not too liquidy when you put your whitener on. So I'm just going to lay this down on the cling wrap and then start applying a whitener. The more you put on, the whiter it's going to be. So I like to put on a nice heavy coat. If this doesn't turn out as white as you would like, you can always redo these steps and whiten it a couple of times if need be. So this deer was actually found in a riverbed out in South Dakota when we went out for our archery hunt this year. Not sure what killed him. He still got his velvet on, so he had to have died earlier on in the season, late summer. Alright guys, so now basically what we're going to do after putting on all the whitening on the skull, we're just going to wrap it up with this saran wrap that we laid out. And keep in mind when you guys are putting the whitening on the skull, wherever you get the whitening, it's going to turn white. So if you got antlers, or in this case velvet, whatever your case may be, even your clothes, just watch what you're doing with the whitener because it's going to get bleached. So take and just wrap that up. Just like so, that'll work. And then we're gonna let it sit for about a day. I'm gonna come back tomorrow afternoon, unwrap it, and then we're gonna wash that off and see how it turned out. Alright guys, so it's the next day. It's about 21 hours later. So we're going to go ahead and unwrap this and then get him cleaned up. And just put this over on the other side of the sink. See, that's what he's kind of looking like, a lot of goop on him. We're just going to rinse it off. Alright guys, so I'm just going to let them dry here for, an hour or so. And then I'll go ahead and glue the teeth in. Just using a little bit of super glue. The boiling process leaves them a little bit loose. So a little dab of super glue, that'll do the trick. And then they'll be ready to go on the wall. So far looking pretty good. Alright guys, here he is. He's all done. Finished drying. I put a couple dabs of glue on his teeth. I just used super glue from the dollar store and a little bit of glue around the nose bones. Those are pretty standard to come loose during the boiling process. I'm happy with how he turned out. If you ever want to whiten them a little bit more, you can do the same exact process, just do it over. Like I said, I'm happy with them. I'm good. So hopefully this video helped you guys out. Answered a couple of questions that you may have had. And thanks for watching, guys. Amazeen Outdoors. Amazeen Outdoors is a skull hanging company based out of Michigan. We use locally sourced steel to CNC plasma cut and fabricate all of our products. Our motto is simple, effective, and affordable. There are no fancy names or over-engineered designs. The hangers are built around the skull itself to allow you to securely hang your skull anywhere you please. They are priced with hunters in mind so you don't have to spend big money to hang your big bucks. AmazeenOutdoors.com